Hello everyone, this is Art Start number 2. I have a series of artistic lessons that I'm putting on here for you to help you, and I wanted to talk today about one of my very favorites, Vincent van Gogh. When I was teaching art, I felt sad about Vincent van Gogh because he was such a very, very special person that he had lots of problems, as you know. Lots of mental problems. We all remember that he cut off his ear and things like that. A person that's feeling right would not do that, right? But his artwork is some of the most beautiful that you will ever see. This past summer I was able to go to Amsterdam, which is in Holland or the Netherlands, and I went to his museum. It was amazing. So I want to tell you just a little bit about him, and then I want you to decide which one of his paintings are you going to be inspired by today. So this is Vincent van Gogh's Sunflowers and Swirly Stars, and it was written by Brad Bucks and Joan Holo. And our unit on famous artists, this letter is written by the teacher, is almost over. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm excited to read your reports. Well, I'm not making you write a report. You're going to get to do a piece of art. But did you think Vincent van Gogh got rich from being an artist? This lady thought so. I realized he was never rich. In fact, he was one of the poorest artists that was ever around. He did not become famous until after he died. So he was not rich at all. I found out something very interesting as well when I went to the museum this summer. Did you know that he has so many portraits of himself? Does anybody have an idea why he has so many portraits of himself? I thought maybe he just thought he was very handsome and wanted to paint himself, but that's not the case at all. He was so poor that he did not have money to be able to hire somebody to sit for his portrait, so he had to paint himself. He probably looked in the mirror. Another guy that he painted that I thought was really cool was his postman. He painted a picture of him because he saw him quite often, because Vincent van Gogh was writing his brother Theo very, very often. So of course in those days you handed your letter to the postman. So there's just a lot of cool things about him that I have learned over the years. Van Gogh was poor his whole life. As I just told you, he did not become famous until after he died. When he was a boy, he was born on March 30th in 1853. I want you to try to figure out for me, this is what, 2016? Subtract that, find out how old he would be if he was still living. 1853. He lived in a little town in Holland called Groot Zundert. His father was a preacher and his mother was a housewife. There were 6 children in his family. He was the oldest. The artist says she knows what it's like because she has a brother and a sister, and she's the oldest too. There's a picture of him painting his portrait, and then there's an actual picture when he was only 13 years old. His favorite brother was named Theo. Theo always tried to help his brother out of trouble, and Vincent got him plenty of that. School was no fun for Vincent. He got bad grades and had a hard time making friends. He quit school when he was only 16 years old. I hope you don't do that. It says Vincent gets a little lucky. This is the art gallery where he worked. Luckily, Vincent's uncle gave him a job at an art gallery in Holland. This was his first big break. At home, Vincent didn't get to do art museums. There weren't any art books around, but now at his new job, he was so good at his job that his boss gave him a promotion. He sent him to work in an art gallery in London, England, and things at that time were looking up. When we say we're looking up, it just means things were looking like they were going to get better. When he moved away, I think he really missed Theo. Vincent wrote lots of letters to his brother. He drew pictures all around the edges of his paper, and they were pictures of buildings and interesting things that he saw. In those days, most people didn't have a camera, so it was a very good thing that Vincent could draw. So you just see all these drawings around just showing you when he would write his letters. Another thing that I thought was so interesting in the museum was there was this big piece of furniture that belonged to Theo, and that's where he kept all of his brother's letters. So it lets you know that he got so many letters from Vincent, and so he kept them, and he kept them safe. There were lots of letters. Of course, they were written not in English, and so of course you didn't know what they said, but it would always have his name at the end. Says Vincent messes up. Says soon Vincent was in trouble again. He fell in love with a woman who did not love him back. I think that's very sad, don't you? He felt sad all the time, and sometimes he forgot to go to work. What happens when you don't go to work? What do you think? Right, you might get fired. Now Vincent needed a new job. He tried being a teacher, and that didn't work out. He tried selling books in a bookstore. That didn't work out. And then he tried to be a preacher. No, that didn't work out either. He felt like a failure when all of these jobs didn't work out. I like that picture. There's just a picture of Vincent trying to give flowers to the lady, but she did not love him back. Now he decided then to be a painter. He didn't start out as a great artist. Most artists begin painting when they are a lot younger than he was. And Vincent had a lot of catching up to do. He practiced by copying other artists at first. Two of his favorites were Rembrandt and John Francis Millet. They painted with dark colors. So you see in this picture, he is painting with very, very dark colors. This is one of his famous pictures called The Potato Eaters. And he met these folks when he was trying to be a pastor. And that's basically what they had. Potatoes and maybe a little something to drink, but that's what they had to eat on. So then it was time to move again, and Vincent went to live in Paris, France in 1886. He met lots of other artists there, and many of them, like Claude Monet, were still famous in that time, but back then they were struggling like Vincent. In Vincent's time, artists painted pictures to look real, sort of like photographs. Some artists began experimenting. They put their feelings into their paintings. Their brush strokes showed their feelings. And these artists were named Impressionists. Say that word, Impressionists, because they painted their impressions of things that they saw. And people were shocked by the Impressionist work. Vincent made friends with artists named Paul Signac and George Seurat. They painted in a style called pointillism. Say that word, pointillism. Up close, their pictures looked like a bunch of dots. But when you would get far away from them, you would see what it was supposed to be. They looked like regular paintings. So that was very interesting these times. So Paul Signac tried to get Vincent to paint with dots. Instead of just dots, Vincent tried something else. He painted with dashes and swirls. Of course, you see a lot of dashes and swirls on the famous Starry Night painting. And while he was in Paris, Vincent saw some Japanese paintings, and they wowed him. Japanese artists painted with bright colors, and they left the shadows out of their pictures, and they drew outlines around some things, and Vincent tried these ideas in his own paintings. He had a nice collection of Japanese paintings because he loved the style so much. There was another thing about Paris that was good. Theo lived there, and Vincent and his brother became roommates. That sounds like that would be great, right? Wrong again. Vincent was nothing but a pest to Theo. He just liked to argue, and he was so messy. Sometimes he just tried too hard. He got excited about painting that he drove other people crazy as well. Theo's friends did not like Vincent. They wouldn't come over anymore, and Theo wanted Vincent to move out. And after 2 years, he finally did. Vincent and Theo stayed best buddies, even though they fought a lot. Everyone else ignored Vincent's paintings. Theo always told him how good they were. So I'd like to close on part 1 of Vincent van Gogh just to let you know that his brother Theo was very encouraging. If you can find somebody in your life that needs a word of encouragement, say something to them, because sometimes the only thing a person needs is someone just to build them up a little bit with a little bit of encouragement. So I hope you have fun with doing a Vincent van Gogh project today, and next week I will tell you a little bit more about Van Gogh. See you. Bye-bye.